She was there for 3 years. Not one Black Friday, not two, but 3. The knowledge of what's coming. Knowing that you're gonna say hi to the family and then you're gonna get your laptop out. I can't talk about this in front of my team, but this is a serious issue. GitHub uptime status monitor. This is a company that had 4 nines for years, sometimes 5 nines. You're fixing broken shit for the next 48 hours. And now it's made national news at times. And if you're angry and bitter, you will kill your company. And so that was time to leave.
Luke, welcome to No Fixed Route.
Hey there, nice to be here, Jerome.
So we met a couple of weeks ago, and the very first impression that I had of you was that y'all were great at sales. We met at a conference. A lot of people just have a QR code to scan LinkedIn's to connect. You pulled up your calendar and said, book time on my calendar. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, it's just a Calendly. I'm flattered. Honestly, my co-founder has kind of beaten me up on dropping leads, and she's totally right. Like, you have to just push. Like, you have to be smooth and tactful about it. And I'm not quite where I want to be yet, but I mean, it worked. Call.
And I bet you guys had a lot of calls booked that day as well. I've never seen it before, right? You guys were like on top of it. A lot of people that I met at that event, I was like, guys, did Luke and Perla hit you up? Like, they were on top of getting leads that day, which is awesome. But I kind of want us to talk about what your company does. Foam AI, also what a killer domain. Foam.ai. There's probably a story of how you guys got that. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But what is Foam AI? What are you guys building?
So Foam is building a debugging agent. So when something goes wrong, when something crashes, we figure out what, why, when, where, who, and how, and we DM the engineer responsible, not the get blamed engineer. And I'm not sure how many of your people have been doing software engineering, but it is almost ubiquitous that an issue shows up, it gets assigned to you, and you're like, what is this? Yeah. And it only showed up because you were the get blamed engineer. You last touched the linter, or you last refactored that file, and you didn't ever change the business logic. Like, it's not your bug.
Yeah.
So we make that problem go away. We also figure out why it happened, and we turn that into a meaningful response instead of an opaque error. So we'll just straight tell you, yo, this server's out of memory, and that's why this is crashing over here. And that makes it so much easier to triage, to understand, to respond. No, that's Foam.
And like, I'll take it a step further as well, because we are a user of Foam. You don't just tell us what's wrong. There's like a button to go fix the problem as well.
Yeah. Send to Cursor, send to Claude. We've experimented with a couple different approaches to this. We really want to get to the point where all of the work that you and your team have put into really nurturing your coding agent, we can ride on top of that, because at the end of the day, you do know your code base a lot better than anyone else. And even though we have access to your code base, we don't necessarily know all of the ins and outs that you've baked into your Cursor or Claude rules. So we want to have a nice handoff there.
Yeah, I bet you could parse like Claude.md or Cursor rules or whatever to like better fit in there. When I spoke to your co-founder Perla, she told me that the insight, or like the beginning of this, was she was on call at a firm, which was her old company, during Black Friday. And she like felt the pain of stuff breaking all the time. I'm sure like that one day is probably unique, but I kind of wonder, how does this problem show up every single day for your customers?
Ooh. So I want to go back to that Perla thing for a moment real quick. She was there for 3 years. Mm-hmm. Not one Black Friday, not 2, but 3. The knowledge of what's coming, knowing that you're going to say hi to the family and then you're going to get your laptop out and you're just fixing broken stuff for the next, actually, can I swear here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, you're fixing broken shit for the next 48 hours. Like, the awareness that it is happening again.
Yeah.
Right? It is. So hopefully people aren't dealing with quite that pressure. A firm, buy now, pay later, right? Black Friday is their Christmas. It is literally where the business makes its money. And that is a pressure that I think, honestly, very few businesses have. This seasonality is a common thing across business, but having one day that makes or breaks your quarter, it's somewhat unique in the business world. So I think that's probably one of the worst ones you could have. But you've seen how unstable ChatGPT is. You've seen the craziness around Anthropic's toying around with reasoning juice, right? All of those things drive massive volumes of pain for SRE teams, for engineering teams. Those stability issues really do impact the day-to-day operations and day-to-day lives. You'd asked, if I heard correctly, you asked, what does that look like in most companies? Mm-hmm. And so kind of the canonical story really depends by phase, but let's talk a little bit about like the 150 to 400 person company. And so in this, you've got a small team of SREs, site reliability engineers, call them 2 to 3, maybe it's 4. It really depends on what the product is. And their entire job is balancing the tension between product management plus engineering, trying to ship, move as fast as possible, and sales and customer success needing stability and consistency. How do you sit between that immovable force and that immovable object and keep them from crashing into each other and destroying each other, right? That is their job. And what this manifests as is you have to deal with new stuff going to prod that breaks. You have to deal with customers who are trying something that they were told was possible and isn't. And you have to make sure that the system stays alive through all of this pain and pressure. And the day-to-day tends to be a lot of responding to pages, digging through logs, digging through trajectories, understanding, is it a product problem? Is it a customer expectation problem? Is it that AWS decided to turn off US East again? Like, what went wrong today?
That
is
makes
the
sense.
day-to-day.
Got it. I imagine this problem has 10x since everyone started using Cloud Code or whatever, right? Like I just admitted this, when we were having dinner before this podcast, that we stopped reviewing code. In fact, I asked you, why the hell are you reviewing your people's code? Like ship time to production is something that we try to shrink as much as possible. And that causes a lot of bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed that over the past, a couple of years working on this, or maybe even from Perla's past experience, are the number of bugs increasing?
Yeah, and you only have to look at one place, GitHub uptime status monitor. This is a company that had 4 9s for years, sometimes 5 9s. And I think their latest for the last year is already down to like 3. Like, I mean, they were, you never encountered GitHub being down until this year. And now it's made national news at times. Like it is, the rate of bugs is through the roof.
Damn, I'm curious. Is that on your slide? Like you guys should build a site reliability tracker, like for all these companies over time, Wayback Machine. You can like find all these things. Could be a nice LinkedIn post too.
Yeah, that could be amusing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Can we talk a little bit about how you even think about selling a product like this? Because like I feel like in a lot of the companies where you are trying to sell into, the person feeling the pain might not be the person writing the check. Have you encountered that? Like,
yeah, and it's the canonical B2B problem. So there's actually a whole shit ton of amazing writing and research about these things. There's a great book by a guy by the name of John McMahon called The Qualified Sales Leader. And arguably McMahon introduced the canonical framework to think about this. And so you may have heard the term champion or economic buyer or coach. You may have heard the acronym MEDPIC or MEDIC or MEDPIC Plus, or it's got an infinite variance. But the core of it is a B2B sale needs to do a few critical things for a handful of stakeholders. And you need to be able to make multiple promises. And so to the person who's going to use your product, it needs to improve their life a little bit. It can't generally make it worse. And then for the person who's going to install your product, who's going to champion it within the org, it needs to get them promoted. And to get someone promoted in a SaaS business, and really any B2B, you have to change the arc of their org or their entire company as a result of using the new technology, right? That's what it means to get someone promoted. And then for the economic buyer, they have to be able to distill this down into a dollars and cents equation where the obvious answer is to pay you on a risk-adjusted basis. And so how do you manage just that simple equation? 3 stakeholders. We're not talking about legal. We're not talking about security or compliance. We're not talking about procurement. Those are all stakeholders the bigger and bigger and bigger your deals get, right? And that's, again, B2B, not B2B2C, not B2B2B2C, or any of these other more complex variants. So that's first, understand the state of play. I don't think I've quite answered your question, but I lost the thread. So why don't you bring us back to it?
Yeah. So the question was, how do you deal with the person paying is different from the person feeling the pain?
Yeah, so let's now we've got the terms in the frame. So that economic buyer, the person paying, and the person using and the person installing, champion and user, right? You have to navigate the desires they each have and their relative power balance. And so what this means from a sales perspective is it's not one deck. It's 3 or 5 or 20, each tailored to the revealed preferences of each stakeholder as you work your way through the organization. The slides that I present to a founder CTO of a 200-person company are very different from the slides that I present to an SRE in a 2,000 person company who's just kicking the tires.
Yeah.
I tell a different story to each person, and I optimize that story around a simple frame. I want to earn trust at every stage of this deal. That usually means under promise, over deliver, and speak in a way that they understand, speak in their language.
That makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of example of companies that try to sell to the actual users first. Think Figma, think Linear, and then work their way up the organization. And then there's ones that are very sales heavy that start with the top guy and work their way down the organization. Have you tried both different paths, or are you sure one is better than the other? Like, how are you thinking about this?
Ooh, yeah, top down versus bottom down sales is a fun one. We haven't built the product to drive bottoms up sales yet. And this is one of those fun things where you may have heard of product-led growth.
Yep.
Right? Product-led growth is the canonical dev tool sales motion, and we're very much a dev tool. You have to build an onboarding process. You have to chip away at all the trouble that gets someone onto the platform. And while we've made some of those investments, we're not quite there. And that fundamentally means I have to have a high-touch sales process. And if I'm going to have a high-touch sales process, the percent chance of converting is much higher if I use a top-down motion. And so today, top-down motion, we're iterating our product closer and closer to that bottoms-up world, because I think that's, frankly, how we're going to win.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I want to talk about competition a little bit.
Yeah, please.
We brought it up earlier during dinner as well. There's 100-something companies that are doing this. Is that a scary thing, or is that a signal tell you that, damn, there's a big market, a lot of people are thinking about this?
Definitely both.
Okay.
So let's kind of break this out, right? 120 some odd competitors as last count. And we don't spend too much time tracking. It's more of a, who do you encounter in the market? Who do you hear about? Who do your friends tell you about? You just build the spreadsheet over time because you want to be able to keep track of it. So I've got this list, and sometimes we'll go and have an agent check through and like build us a report on the latest marketing or whatever, right? And so digging through that, one, yeah, no, it's a huge market and lots of people see it. Two, it is dev tools. This is one of the key things about dev tools. All of your clients and everyone who thinks like you, all the engineers in the world, will inevitably stub their toe on the same problem and then try and solve it. That's what engineers do. We solve problems.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they're all seeing it, great sign. The fact they're all building it, great sign. The fact that so many are dying, not the best sign.
Yeah.
And so as a founder, you have to make a few decisions. You have to understand, why are people dying? Are they dying because this is a tar pit and you're in it? Or are they dying because they haven't built the skills to overcome the challenges unique to this business? Or are they dying because they haven't built the product to back up their promises? And understanding where each of our competitors stands in that place, one, massively expensive. We don't spend too much time worrying about them. Two, a few of the leading folks, yeah, we pay attention. And it's neat to learn from them.
Yeah. I feel like there's an even bigger competitor in this space, which is your actual customer building in-house.
Yeah.
Do you guys spend a lot of time thinking about that?
Yeah, there's a great stat. 40% of all B2B deals are lost to no decision, AKA status quo. And when you're selling to an engineering org, status quo is built here.
Yeah.
And built here can be spreadsheets. Built here can be a full-on in-house agent that absorbs literally every single bit of context. And you'll start hearing more and more about company brains and how they wire in. And no, there's a lot of built here. And over the last year and a half, that rate has gone up dramatically. But here's the thing, that rate has gone up dramatically, but the complaints about those have stayed the same. So people are trying it. I don't think they're getting it. And our experience is, you might be able to build something that really accelerates a small team, but you're not going to be able to in-house build something that can work across complex architecture with high conviction rate. You're not within the cost you usually have available.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I imagine, like if we were to build something like this in-house, we'd spend a lot of time and resources that we just don't have. I know companies like Ramp have built something similar in-house, are very vocal about it.
Yep.
But if you're like Jeff Bezos is, make the beer taste better, right? Yeah. If that's what you're doing, if I'm, I don't know, Apple and selling iPhones, then how much should I care about? Okay, maybe Apple should probably care about this themselves, but you get my point. There's like a lot of businesses that don't want to live and die on managing their errors and would want to purchase in-house. Makes sense. How are you thinking about pricing? I know there's a lot of conversation of like per seat. Is that dead? Are you guys charging per resolution? Like how are you thinking about that?
We've tried a couple different things. I don't think we've solved pricing yet.
Okay.
So we've tried per seat models, not particularly attractive from both sides of the equation. We've tried outcomes-based pricing. And fortunately, attribution is pretty clean when you can have the agent generate the code.
Yeah.
Right. And I can just be like, yeah, that was my API key. I mean,
Yeah.
right. We've tried more like middle ground, like pay for triage versus pay for fix. And we found that while it sounds exciting, it is not really valuable enough, right? Like there's a vast line between I accelerated your resolution and I solved the problem. When you make the problem go away, people will pay for that. That's the biggest lesson I've picked up. When you make the problem smaller, it's not the same dollars.
Yeah, I wonder if you do you guys track if something is successful?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so you can difference between errors happening now it isn't happening. A foam PR close this
Exactly.
track that
So
way.
when you accept a fix and merge it in, since we have telemetry and access to your code base, we can track both those moments and we can observe the frequency of the error. Did the error disappear? How long did it stay gone? Can I then, when an error either reappears or a similar error occurs, I can then compare and contrast against the old root cause, and I can go, that was introduced because we missed an edge case, or that was introduced because you changed something elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so we can do really good attribution within your code base using most of your data.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Are people ever nervous that you're seeing a lot of their errors, and is there data question marks around your product?
Yes and no, and it's really ICP dependent. So fortunately, in the last year, giving people access for their agents has become ubiquitous. There is a vast amount of openness to giving me code base access that just wasn't there a year and a half, 2 years ago. I mean, it would have been unheard of back in 2020 to give someone else code base access. That was just absurd.
Yeah.
And so, one, massive cultural change. And honestly, we have the model companies to thank for that, right? Two, I was at a conference and I was chatting with the CEO and he pulled me aside away from his team when I mentioned what we did. And he's like, look, I can't talk about this in front of my team, but this is a serious issue. We need, let's chat, right? Booked a meeting.
Why do you pull his aside?
He didn't feel comfortable. So conference, he's there to sell.
Yeah.
He didn't feel comfortable standing in front of his booth talking about his product's stability issues. Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've encountered that in the wild, but talking to engineers, no. Every engineer wants to acknowledge the reality around them.
Yeah.
Because I think this is part of being a software engineer. You learn that if you hide the reality, then it just gets worse. You have to be willing to have that direct conversation. There's a bit of trust you have to build, especially as an outsider, to get there. That's usually one conversation, a beer, a coffee, to get to that level, just because, well, I was a CTO before this. I taught myself to code. I've been there. I can share stories with you in the trenches there. And yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. You brought up being a CTO before. I kind of want to go there in the last few minutes that we have.
Yeah, sure.
What were you building before phone?
So my co-founders, Alex Alvarado and Sid Sadambi, and I built Daybreak Health from 0 to Series B plus. I'm pretty sure they're in the double-digit millions of revenue these days. I left 11 months after the Series B because I got really bitter about healthcare in the U.S. And
can you say more about that? What happened?
Well, you get into business for one or two reasons. Usually you'll hear about missionaries. I'm here to change this thing. I'm here to make this better. I'm here to fix this. Or you get into it because you think it'll be fun. I was the latter. I thought it'd be fun. And it was. It's a crazy ride. I'm deeply thankful to Alex and Sid for going on that journey together. And, you get into the next phase of the business, because each series, the things that got you to the pre-seed won't get you to the seed, to the seed, to the A, to the A, to the B, right? And right around this time, we were pivoting the business to build out the insurance pay option and looking at the market power dynamics, looking at the economics, seeing margin just get squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, and just being like, one, this business is going to hurt. And two, holy shit, we have to deal with insurance. This is the worst part of healthcare in the US. Is there anything we can do to make this better? And the answer is no. And when you're looking at the thing you tried to build to make kids' lives better, and the single biggest barrier to that is insurance nickel and diming you in the most perverse way, it pissed me off. And I realized I couldn't change that. I couldn't fix that. And that made me angry and bitter. And if you're angry and bitter, you will kill your company.
Yeah.
And so that was time to leave.
Best to step away. A lot of what you just said, we resonate with at Doctors. I mean, the reason why we're starting it is because it's impossible to reorganize the incentives of U.S. healthcare system. You kind of have to circumvent it and have people access care outside of the U.S. healthcare system for it to get better and fix itself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the joke I tell during recruiting interviews is I'll tell people, option A, you have to be an insurance company, or option B, a government. And one of those is real boring and kind of evil, and the other one requires quite a lot of revolution. And I'm not in either of those businesses.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to be stuck in between. I think it's good that we end it there. This was a great pod. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, yeah. Happy to.